Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Dr. Ryan Westbrook, and today we're diving into something that affects millions of people over 60 who are living with diabetes. If you're in that group, or if you care for someone who is, this video is going to save you a lot of frustration, medication adjustments, and potentially serious health complications. Here's the honest truth. Once you hit 60 with diabetes, your body changes. Your metabolism slows down. Your kidneys aren't filtering things quite like they used to. Your medications might work differently. And worst of all, the foods that maybe didn't hurt you when you were younger, they can really mess with your blood sugar now. The foods you eat become even more critical. And here's what I see all the time in my practice. People in their 60s, 70s, even 80s come in saying, "Doc, I don't understand. I'm doing the same things I always did, but my A1C is creeping up. My blood pressure is getting harder to control. I'm feeling more tired." 9 times out of 10, it comes down to what's on their plate. So today, I want to walk you through the specific foods that diabetics over 60 really need to avoid. And I'm going to explain why each one matters. Because when you understand the why, you're much more likely to actually stick with it. Let's start with refined carbohydrates and white sugar products. I get it, these foods taste amazing, they're convenient, they're everywhere. But if you have diabetes and you're over 60, refined carbs are one of your biggest enemies. Let me explain what happens in your body. When you eat a refined carbohydrate, let's say a piece of white bread or a donut, it hits your digestive system and gets broken down super fast. And I mean fast. Within minutes, you've got a huge spike of glucose flowing into your bloodstream. Your pancreas has to work overtime to produce insulin to deal with that spike. Now, when you're younger and healthier, your pancreas can usually handle it. It cranks out the insulin, brings that blood sugar back down, and crisis averted. But when you're over 60 with diabetes, your pancreas is tired. It's been working hard for decades. The cells that produce insulin are wearing out. And your body becomes what we call insulin resistant, meaning your cells don't respond to insulin as well as they used to. So what happens? That blood sugar spike becomes a blood sugar nightmare. It stays elevated longer. Your blood vessels are exposed to high glucose for extended periods, and that accelerates damage to your small blood vessels, your nerves, your kidneys, and your eyes. I'm talking about your eyesight getting worse, your kidneys potentially needing dialysis down the road, your feet becoming numb and vulnerable to infection. These aren't exaggerations. These are real complications I see in my patients. So what specifically should you avoid? White bread, regular pasta, most breakfast cereals, especially the sweet ones, donuts, pastries, cakes, and cookies, regular sodas, and I mean all of them, whether they're Coke, Sprite, or whatever else, candy, ice cream, sugary yogurts, fruit juices, and smoothies from the store. These are all refined carbs and simple sugars that spike your blood sugar rapidly. Now the thing is, you don't have to live on rabbit food. There are alternatives I'm going to talk about later. But these refined carbs? They've got to go, or be severely limited. Next up, fried foods and saturated fats. Fried food is delicious. A crispy piece of fried chicken, French fries, fried fish, chicken wings. These are comfort foods for a lot of people. And I'm not here to shame anyone for loving them. I get it. But here's what happens when you eat fried foods, especially if you're over 60 with diabetes. First, fried foods are typically high in what we call trans fats and saturated fats. These fats do several bad things simultaneously. They contribute to inflammation in your body. They increase your LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol. They decrease your HDL cholesterol, the good kind. And they make your blood vessels less flexible. When you have diabetes, your blood vessels are already under stress. The high glucose damages the inner lining of your blood vessels. So adding fried foods on top of that, you're essentially speeding up the damage to your cardiovascular system. Second, fried foods are typically very calorie-dense. A single serving of fried chicken can easily be 400 to 600 calories. Add some fried sides, potatoes, okra, whatever, and you're looking at a meal that's 800 to 1,200 calories, sometimes more. For someone who needs to maintain a healthy weight to manage their diabetes, that's a huge problem. And here's something people don't think about. As you get older, your metabolism naturally slows down by about 5 to 8% per decade after 30. That means you need fewer calories than you did when you were younger. If you're eating the same amount of fried food at 65 that you ate at 45, you're going to gain weight. And weight gain makes diabetes much harder to control. Third, fried foods can cause rapid spikes in blood sugar, especially when they're breaded. That breading is often refined flour, which we just talked about. So you're getting a double hit of refined carbs plus saturated fat. So what fried foods should you avoid? Fried chicken and fried fish. French fries and fried potatoes. Fried vegetables, even though they might sound healthy. Donuts and fried pastries. Tempura-style foods. Most things you find in the deep fryer at a restaurant. Now, I'm not saying you can never have these things, but if you do, it should be occasional, maybe once a month or less, and in small portions. And there are healthier cooking methods that give you similar satisfaction. Let's talk about processed meats. Bacon, sausage, hot dogs, deli meats, pepperoni. These are convenient proteins that a lot of people rely on. They're easy to grab, easy to cook, and they taste great. But here's what the research shows us. Regular consumption of processed meats significantly increases your risk of heart disease and stroke. And if you have diabetes over 60, your risk for heart disease and stroke is already much higher than the general population. Why? There are several reasons. First, processed meats are often very high in sodium. Salt increases blood pressure, and high blood pressure combined with diabetes is a recipe for cardiovascular disaster. It increases your risk of heart attack and stroke exponentially. Second, processed meats contain compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These are compounds that form when meat is cured, smoked, or processed at high temperatures. AGEs are particularly problematic for people with diabetes because they stick to your proteins and cause inflammation and oxidative stress. They accelerate aging at the cellular level. Third, many processed meats contain nitrates and nitrites, which are preservatives. These can damage the lining of your blood vessels and impair the function of your arteries. Now, if you're diabetic and over 60, you need your cardiovascular system working as well as possible. Your heart and blood vessels are working hard. You don't need to add more stress. The processed meats to absolutely avoid. Bacon and sausage for breakfast. Deli meats like ham, turkey, and roast beef for sandwiches. Hot dogs. Pepperoni and processed meat toppings on pizza. Canned meats. Most packaged meat snacks. Smoked meats in general. Again, if you eat these occasionally, probably fine. But if you're eating bacon with breakfast, a deli meat sandwich for lunch, and hot dogs for dinner, that's a pattern that's going to accelerate problems. Now let's discuss foods high in sodium. Your kidneys are critical when you have diabetes. Over 60, your kidneys are less efficient than they were when you were younger. Add diabetes to the mix, and your kidneys are under real stress. One of the biggest things that damages kidneys and raises blood pressure is excessive sodium intake. Most Americans eat way too much salt. We're getting it in bread, in processed foods, in canned foods, in restaurant meals. It's everywhere. High sodium intake raises your blood pressure. For someone with diabetes over 60, uncontrolled blood pressure is one of the fastest ways to damage your kidneys, your heart, and your blood vessels. Think about what happens. High sodium causes your body to retain water. This increases the volume of fluid in your bloodstream, which increases pressure on your arterial walls. Your heart has to work harder to pump against that pressure. Over time, the vessels themselves get damaged and stiffer. And your kidneys have to filter more to try to maintain balance. They get exhausted. I've had patients in their 70s who came in thinking they were developing kidney disease from their diabetes, when really, the primary driver was decades of high sodium intake leading to high blood pressure. So what high sodium foods should you avoid? Most canned soups. A single can can have 800 to 1,200 milligrams of sodium, which is half your entire daily limit right there. Processed foods like frozen dinners, which often have 500 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium per serving. Bread and rolls. Most commercial breads have 100 to 200 milligrams per slice without you even realizing it. Canned vegetables and canned meats. Soy sauce and other high-sodium condiments. Deli meats we mentioned before. Chips and salty snacks. Restaurant meals, especially fast food. The American Heart Association recommends less than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day, and ideally less than 1,500 for people with high blood pressure or kidney concerns. If you're over 60 with diabetes, you're probably dealing with both. Let me talk about regular sodas and beverages with added sugars. This one should be obvious, right? But you'd be surprised how many of my patients are still drinking regular soda. A typical 12-ounce soda contains about 40 grams of sugar. That's 10 teaspoons of sugar. If you drink 2 sodas a day, and a lot of people do, you're consuming 80 grams of sugar daily just from beverages. Let's do the math. 80 grams of sugar per day. That's about 560 grams per week. Per month, that's around 2,400 grams. 2.4 kilograms of pure sugar going into your body just from drinks. For someone with diabetes, this is absolutely devastating. It causes massive blood sugar spikes. It contributes to weight gain. It feeds inflammation throughout your body. It damages your teeth. And it increases your risk of kidney disease. But it's not just regular sodas. Sports drinks are terrible too. Gatorade, Powerade, these drinks are often marketed to athletes, but they're loaded with sugar. 40 grams of sugar per bottle. Energy drinks? Even worse sometimes. Some have 50+ grams of sugar and huge amounts of caffeine that can spike your blood pressure. Sweetened teas are deceptive too. A bottle of sweet tea might have 30 to 40 grams of sugar. You think you're being healthy by drinking tea instead of soda, but the sugar content is almost identical. Fruit juices are another big one. Orange juice, apple juice, cranberry juice. People think these are healthy because they come from fruit. But a glass of juice has as much sugar as a soda, minus the fiber that's in whole fruit. A glass of orange juice, for example, has about 25 grams of sugar. You're getting the sugar hit without any of the fiber or the fullness that eating a whole orange would give you. The same goes with commercial smoothies. A lot of people think smoothies are healthy because they have fruit and yogurt. But a commercial smoothie can easily have 50 to 70 grams of sugar. You're essentially drinking liquid candy. So what should you avoid? Regular sodas completely. Sports drinks except during or immediately after intense exercise. Energy drinks. Sweetened teas and lemonades. Fruit juices. Most commercial smoothies. Chocolate milk. Sugary coffee drinks. A flavored latte from a coffee shop can have 30 to 50 grams of sugar. Instead, drink water, unsweetened tea, black coffee, or genuinely sugar-free beverages. Your blood sugar will thank you. Now let's discuss foods that spike your blood sugar rapidly, specifically white rice and refined grains. I grew up eating white rice, and I know a lot of people do. It's a staple in cuisines around the world. It's convenient, it's cheap, it tastes good. But for someone with diabetes, white rice is basically food-grade glucose paste. Here's why. White rice has been stripped of its outer layer, which contains fiber. The fiber is what slows down the absorption of glucose. Without it, white rice is digested incredibly quickly. A serving of white rice can spike your blood sugar as much as eating pure sugar. The same goes for regular pasta made from refined flour. It looks innocent, just noodles, but it's been stripped of fiber and nutrients. It's essentially refined carbohydrates wrapped around a plate. Instant oatmeal is in this category too. Whole oats are fine, but instant oatmeal has been broken down so much that it's absorbed rapidly, similar to white rice. Now, as you get older with diabetes, your body becomes more insulin resistant. That means your cells don't respond to insulin as well. So rapid blood sugar spikes are even more problematic because your body can't manage them as effectively. What should you avoid? White rice. All of it. Instant rice, white jasmine rice, white basmati rice. Regular pasta made from refined flour. Instant oatmeal. White flour and products made from white flour. Instant potatoes. Most breakfast cereals unless they're specifically high fiber. Let's talk about full-fat dairy products. I know people who are over 60 and still consuming full-fat milk, full-fat cheese, full-fat yogurt, sour cream, whole milk butter, whole milk creamer. They think they're fine because these are traditional foods and they grew up eating them. But the research is clear. Full-fat dairy products are high in saturated fat, and saturated fat increases your LDL cholesterol and your heart disease risk. For someone over 60 with diabetes, your cardiovascular system is already vulnerable. Now, dairy does have some good things: calcium, protein, certain vitamins. You don't have to eliminate it entirely. But the full-fat versions are calorie-dense and heavy in saturated fat. A single cup of whole milk has about 8 grams of saturated fat. An ounce of full-fat cheese has about 7 grams. A cup of whole milk yogurt has about 5 grams. These add up fast. If you're eating a breakfast with cheese and eggs cooked in butter, you've already hit half your daily saturated fat limit before lunch. So what should you avoid? Whole milk and full-fat milk. Full-fat yogurt and full-fat Greek yogurt. Full-fat cheese and regular cream cheese. Full-fat sour cream. Whole milk butter and whole milk-based creamers. Ice cream. Switch to low-fat or skim milk if you drink milk. Low-fat or Greek yogurt if you eat yogurt. Part skim mozzarella and other reduced-fat cheeses. And use these in moderation, not as main dishes. Now let's talk about foods high in saturated fat in general, beyond dairy. Coconut oil has become trendy. People think it's healthy because it's natural and plant-based. But coconut oil is almost entirely saturated fat, about 87% of it. That's more saturated fat than butter. Certain cuts of red meat are very high in saturated fat. Ribeye steak, ground beef that isn't lean, beef ribs, these can be 20 to 30% saturated fat. For someone over 60 with diabetes, you don't want to be regularly consuming that much saturated fat. Processed foods often contain hidden saturated fats. Packaged snacks, crackers, many store-bought salad dressings. You think you're eating something innocent, but there's a lot of hidden saturated fat. So what should you avoid? Coconut oil for cooking. High-fat cuts of red meat. Visible fat on meats. Trim it off. Processed foods with long ingredient lists. Check the saturated fat content on anything packaged. Use unsaturated fats instead. Olive oil, canola oil, avocado oil. Eat lean meats and poultry without skin. These are healthier choices. Let's discuss alcohol, because it deserves special attention for diabetics over 60. Alcohol affects people differently as they age. Your body becomes less efficient at processing it. You have less water in your body proportionally, so alcohol becomes more concentrated. You're also more likely to be on medications that interact with alcohol. But here's the diabetes-specific issue. Alcohol affects your liver's ability to regulate blood sugar. Your liver stores glucose and releases it to maintain your blood sugar between meals. When you drink alcohol, your liver prioritizes processing the alcohol over maintaining glucose balance. This can lead to dangerous low blood sugar episodes, especially if you're on insulin or certain diabetes medications. Also, many alcoholic drinks contain a lot of sugar. Beer has carbohydrates. Sweet wines have sugar. Mixers like juice, soda, and sugary cocktail mixes are all high in sugar. And alcohol can increase blood pressure and contribute to weight gain, both of which worsen diabetes control. So what should you avoid? Regular beer and sweet beer. A single beer can have 10 to 15 grams of carbohydrates. Sweet wines and dessert wines. Sugary cocktails and mixed drinks. Anything with juice, soda, or sugary mixers. If you do drink, the safer choice is dry wine in moderation, or spirits mixed with sugar-free mixers. But honestly, at over 60 with diabetes, reducing alcohol intake is usually the better move. Let me talk about foods high in simple carbohydrates more broadly. Pastries, cakes, cookies, and sweets. I don't think this needs a ton of explanation. These foods are designed to be delicious and to taste amazing, and they are. But they're also designed to be quickly absorbed, which means rapid blood sugar spikes. A single donut might seem small, but it could have 30 to 40 grams of carbohydrates and a bunch of sugar. A slice of cake can have 40 to 60 grams of carbohydrates. A handful of cookies can easily hit 30 plus grams. For someone over 60 with diabetes, these spikes can cause serious problems. They strain your pancreas. They damage your blood vessels. They contribute to weight gain. And they often lead to reactive low blood sugar, which is actually dangerous. The sweet foods to avoid: donuts and pastries, cakes and frosting, cookies and brownies, pie, regular candy, chocolate bars, sugary breakfast pastries. Now, I know people think they can have these occasionally, and in truth, an occasional treat won't destroy you, but occasional is the key word. I've had patients tell me they treat themselves to a donut several times a week, thinking occasional doesn't count. That's not occasional, that's regular. Let's discuss foods with hidden sugars, because this trips a lot of people up. You read the label, and there's not obviously a huge amount of sugar, but when you look closer, it's hiding everywhere. Canned soups often have added sugar. You pick up what looks like a normal chicken noodle soup, and it has 5 to 7 grams of sugar per serving. Many salad dressings have a surprising amount of sugar. They taste savory, but sugar is added for flavor. A few tablespoons of salad dressing can have 5 to 10 grams of sugar. Low-fat foods often have added sugar to make up for the flavor lost when they removed the fat. You buy low-fat dressing, low-fat yogurt, low-fat peanut butter, All have extra sugar. Granola and granola bars are marketed as healthy, but many have as much sugar as a candy bar. 30 grams of sugar in a single granola bar. Canned fruits and syrup are obvious, but canned fruits and juice still have a lot of sugar concentrated in that liquid. Flavored oatmeals. Yogurt with fruit on the bottom. Cereal bars and protein bars. Whole wheat bread sometimes has more sugar than you'd expect, so you have to read labels carefully. Look at the grams of sugar per serving. Ingredients listed with sugar or sweeteners. If sugar appears multiple times in the ingredient list, that's a red flag. Now let's talk about what to eat instead, because it's not all about restriction. Your diet should focus on whole foods, non-starchy vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats, and whole grains high in fiber. Non-starchy vegetables should be the foundation. Leafy greens, spinach, kale, lettuce. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. Peppers, zucchini, green beans, asparagus. These have minimal impact on blood sugar and are full of nutrients and fiber. For protein, choose lean options. Skinless chicken breast, fish, lean cuts of beef, turkey, pork tenderloin. Plant-based proteins like legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas are excellent and high in fiber. Healthy fats from sources like olive oil, avocados, nuts, and fatty fish like salmon, which has omega-3s. Whole grains with real fiber. Brown rice, quinoa, whole wheat bread, steel-cut oats. The key is the fiber, which slows absorption and helps control blood sugar. And fruits. Whole fruits, not juices. Berries are best because they're lower in sugar than many fruits. An apple or an orange. The fiber in the whole fruit makes a huge difference compared to juice. And let me be clear about something important. Before you make any major changes to your diet, especially if you're on diabetes medications, talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian. Here's why. If you currently eat a lot of these problematic foods and you change your diet significantly, your blood sugar levels will change. If you're on insulin or medications that help your pancreas produce insulin, and your blood sugar drops because you've changed your diet, you might end up with hypoglycemia, dangerously low blood sugar. This isn't to scare you, it's just reality. Your doctor might need to adjust your medications, and you might need to check your blood sugar more frequently as you make changes. This is a partnership. You make dietary changes, you monitor how your body responds, and you work with your healthcare team to adjust medications as needed. Some people are able to reduce their diabetes medications significantly when they improve their diet. Others might be able to stop certain medications entirely, but that's between you and your doctor, not something you should do on your own. Let me recap the foods to avoid. Refined carbohydrates and white sugar products, fried foods and saturated fats, processed meats, high-sodium foods, regular sodas and beverages with added sugar, white rice and refined grains, full-fat dairy products, alcohol, pastries, cakes, cookies, and sweets, and foods with hidden sugars. These foods don't support your health when you're over 60 with diabetes. They spike your blood sugar. They increase your cardiovascular risk. They contribute to weight gain. They damage your blood vessels, your kidneys, your eyes, your nerves. But here's the good news. This is completely within your control. You get to decide what you put in your body. And when you make better choices, your body responds. Your A1C goes down. Your blood pressure improves. You have more energy. You feel better. I've had patients come back to me months after making these dietary changes and say, "Dr. Westbrook, I don't even recognize myself. I have energy I haven't had in years. My blood sugar is stable. My doctor already reduced my medications." That could be you. It's not easy, and change takes time, but it's absolutely possible. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. And if you have specific dietary questions about your diabetes, please talk with your doctor or a registered dietitian who can give you personalized advice based on your specific situation. Thank you for watching, and take care of yourself.